Hello class, this is Dan Glazer and I'm trying something a little bit different. This time around I have my video camera on. I'm sitting in my hotel room at here in Bucharest. Actually, it's not Bucharest, in Cluj-Napoca in the northwest part of the country in Transylvania. It used to be part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. You can look up Cluj-Napoca on Google Maps or email me and I'll provide you some more information. Anyway, I'm here with my camera and let's see how it goes differently this time. Well, purchasing objectives. This is for chapter 2. Of course, supply continuity is very important. Wouldn't it be? You don't want to have production stop or to have anything that you're doing stop, the money-making processes. But we'd also like to make sure that not only does it continue, but that it's efficient and effective. And one of the ways to do this is to develop a supply base, and we manage our supply base, working with good suppliers. And one of those methods is to have strong relationships. And it's not just with them, but with other functional stakeholders within the organization and also outside suppliers. Sometimes even, you may not believe it, but with competitors. Obviously with customers, definitely you need to have that, and government and so on. You want to support organizational goals and objectives. That goes without saying. Is that first you have the top level organizational goals and objectives, and then purchasing department fits under those, just as you would in any functional area. And you also want to develop your purchasing strategies that support the overall organizational strategies too. These are purchasing objectives. Now, the responsibilities that come with purchasing are to evaluate and select suppliers. That's because that's what you're going to be dealing with. These are the people that provide you with material. You're going to review specifications that come from within the organization to make sure that it is doable, that it may not be too expensive, or that you're able to source it, or to make sure that if there's a question about something that you can determine that. You are the primary contact with suppliers. You're not the only contact, but you are the primary contact. You will be working with them. You will also forecast and plan requirements. Just as marketing does forecasting as far as what is going to be sold, well, purchasing needs to work with marketing and with operations to work with forecasting and planning what are the needs for the company. And finally, in bullet 2, just a little bit above, we said review specifications, is that sometimes you need to clarify what does the requisitioner really need. Well, in a very nice, polite way, but in a way that you're able to go out and find the right supplier for that. Now, the elements of the purchasing process, here, look, it's so simple on this slide, 6 bullets. Well, when you see the next slide and you read the whole chapter, you'll see how detailed it can become. When you become a seasoned purchasing kind of person, say a buyer, purchasing agent, and or move up into purchasing management, you will see that, yes, there are lots of complexities, and you're already aware of a lot of them. But the first thing is to identify user requirements. You're going to evaluate the need effectively and efficiently. You want to identify suppliers. Which are the right suppliers? Which ones do you want to have relationships with? Some of them are suppliers that probably aren't very good for your company. You want to make sure that payment happens. You're the person out there saying, we want to buy from you. And they say, yeah. And we would like for you to pay to us. Just as we expedite and send you stuff, we also want you to expedite and pay us quickly. Within the organization, you want to know if the need was effectively met. You're paying your supplier. You're doing all sorts of stuff to be nice. You're looking at this relationship. What if inside of the organization they're saying, oh, the quality wasn't good, it didn't show up on time, or there may be some other issue. So you need to know if the need was met. And of course, all of this going back to the Deming Plan, Do, Check, Act, and it's not just his, it's just a very standard thing in industry, well, it should be anyway, is continuous improvement. Okay, so here's a slide. What do you think? Complex? Oh yeah, here we start. User needs, specification, statement of work, new product requirement, blah, blah, blah. So you go with, is your supplier approved? Yes, no, and we could go on. That whole list before, here it is explained pretty well. Just getting rid of a little Skype thing. Anyway, this chart right here explains the whole chapter. If you don't mind, I'd like for you to understand it. And if you want to go a step further, I'm not saying memorize it, but know the steps. And they start with 1. Okay, where's 1? 1, 2, 3. 3 is divided up into A and B. 4, 5, 6. And there we go. That's the end of it. Seems easy. It's complex. It's easy and complex at the same time. Oh, I love these paradoxes. Now, the previous slide that we saw was the different processes. Here we're looking at the actual paper flow. In a department someplace, there's a requisition. The requisition is approved that, yes, we want to buy that and buy something. And then the next step down is generate the purchase order from requirements. And of course, from requisition, we submit the purchase order to a vendor. There's signatures and other stuff like that. And the purchase order goes to vendor. But look at this, is that it's also when the product comes in, we start matching parts of the purchase order so that we know that the order's been received. We acknowledge receipt. We match the invoice with the PO. Of course, there's an invoice, match invoice, and accounts payable, settle invoice. That's the paperwork trail. This follows with the previous slide, but they are two different, how should I say it, two different ways of looking at it. One is the overall process and the management, the flow, and so on. This one is the paperwork and where it flows to. Now I'm going to mention, I know this chapter is long, I'm just going to mention two parts of our documents. One is a purchase requisition, and I'm also going to discuss the purchase order. A purchase requisition is within the organization, and it describes what service or material you need, how much, what we think it's going to cost, and of course the estimated cost needs to be negotiated and so on. And then you determine what account is this going to be charged from. And just like anything else, there's a date of the requisition and the date that you need it and an authorized signature. Somebody is responsible for this and they're signing it. Those are the elements of a purchase requisition. And internally, the organization can do this electronically, or it can do it with paper, or there's just lots of different ways. This is not really that stylistically important how it's done, just so you get those parts done, or the bullets. Here, now this here is for the purchase order, and yes, this is stylistically, you take a look at one purchase order, you look at the next, and they're very similar. Some of the same information. How much? You specify the material. Of course, by this time you've already made phone calls and there's understanding of a lot of this stuff, or even emails and other documentation. But as a formality, and well, maybe not a formality in all cases, but you'll specify, the material, how much, and then, of course, the price that's already been determined, when it's to be delivered, the method of delivery, shipped to address, also the purchase order number, since this is entered into computer systems and accounting system, and then the order due date. This is external to the organization. The requisition is internal, the purchase order is external. This starts counting within contract law. Here we have a picture of a purchase order form. I would suspect that all of you have seen these before. If you haven't, take a look at this. If you want to see a bunch of other purchase orders, just go to Google to click on images and then type in the word purchase order form example or something like that, and you'll find a lot. This concludes my lecture for Chapter 2. I have touched on the items that I think are the most important. Yes, everything is important that you know, but if at the end of the day, what do you need to understand? And this would be what we've just covered.